everyone, Lorie Burch mailbag time. Our question today is from Deborah in Rockwall, and she asks, Dear Lorie, my husband and I are expecting our second child. Congratulations. Ever since having our first one, we've talked about getting a will and discussing who should be guardian should something happen to us. Like most parents with little ones, we want to be as prepared as possible, although that never is the case. We plan to have at least one more. Should we wait before we put a will and guardianship in place? What all do we need to know as parents when it comes to this planning? We truly appreciate your help in protecting our family. Deborah, you and your husband should definitely not wait. It is very important to make sure that you get this planning in place, because if you don't, then a court is really going to be in the position of deciding who is going to be the guardian of your child, who's going to oversee any money or inheritance, and how the estate's going to be distributed. One thing that is good news for you is while you're expecting, you can still go ahead and get this in place. You do not have to wait for your child to be born. And the other part is that you don't have to wait until you've had all your kids. If you did have a will put in place now, it can be written in such a way to include future children. So if you have it in place and then you decide to have another child or even adopt another child, you would not necessarily need to update your will with that child's name and birth date. It can all be included. The important thing for you to remember is, one, you're going to decide who's going to be guardian, so who's going to take care of the child until they're age 18. And one thing I hear a lot from parents is that this is what hangs them up, is they can't decide, or it's going to be your mom, not your mom, your sister. Well, it's important to put something in place, because really the downside is that if you don't, then it's really going to be a judge who's going to decide, and your kids will become a ward of the state should something happen to you and your husband. One thing that's important to work through with your advisor and estate planning attorney is deciding who are the best choices and having backups to that, because it's not just guardian, it's also trustee, and a trust is something that you want to have put in place as well. And what that is, it's a vehicle for money and property to go in to take care of your child. The way that the trust works is that it's not that the money is kept away from your child, it's just that they're not the ones that are making the decisions on how it's used. So your trustee, so this is another person that you have to discuss with your spouse who you want to put in place, your trustee is the one who's going to be able to invest the money and then make distributions for health, education, maintenance, and support, all of those important basic needs. If there's a child with special needs, then that needs to be written in a particular way, but basically that you need to have a trust in place. Then you need to decide what age or ages do you want that trust to end and allow the child to control it. You may not want it ever to end. You might want to continue for their lifetime. You may want to attach it to education, for example, when they get a degree or they turn age 30, whichever comes sooner. You may want to space it out in thirds and fourths. Again, these are all things, all particulars that your estate planning attorney can help you work with. But the important thing is also to have the right people in place. I get a lot of couples that ask me, should they have their parents in place? Should they have the same trustees as guardians? There's things that you should consider, whether you want the guardian and trustee to be the same people or if you want them to be different. Do you want your parents, even though they're a generation older than you? There may be pros and cons to each approach, and that's something that an estate planning attorney can help you, help guide you through. The other part of that I hear quite often is, if you want your, say, brother and sister-in-law to be guardians, what should happen if they get divorced? What would you want to happen there? And again, all of this can be planned around and taken care of, but it's important that you do that. The other really key thing when you are a parent is not just the will that may have a trust or guardianship set up, but how you have your beneficiaries set up, such as on life insurance and retirement. Because one of the biggest mistakes that parents make is they may go to the time and effort of having a will with a trust and all that stuff in it, but then they go into their HR department or their insurance company and they put their little 6-year-old child as a beneficiary. That is a huge mistake, because what's going to happen there is it's not going to funnel into the will with a trust. It's going to go into the court registry, and at age 18 it just gets released to the child, and the judge is going to appoint who's going to oversee it. So what's very important is to make sure that you work with your attorney to line up, and possibly your financial advisor, to line up those beneficiaries so that if something does happen to you, that money will funnel into the trust that you've already set up. So it's very particular planning that parents need to consider. It's crucial that you don't try to do this by yourself, that you do get the right pieces put in place and you have someone guiding you, you will never save money or time trying to do this on your own. And I just cannot emphasize that enough, particularly for parents. It's really important that you do this for your family and get this planning put in place. So good question, Deborah. If you would like to see more hot topics in estate planning, you can visit our YouTube page. And for additional information or to sign up for newsletters, please visit us on Facebook or on our website. And until next time, remember, if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you.